A pleasant day to each and everyone. I am Linan Kim Elivido from BS Electrical Engineering, and I will discuss to you about Chapter 6.1, which is entitled, Why Undertake a Survey. This topic tackles about the purpose or reason of why we do a survey and its importance. Engineering research only has value when it directly or indirectly contributes to the improvement of the human condition. One form of research is to seek information about and/or feedback from people about the outcomes or the proposed outcomes of the research, whether this is a product or a service. In addition, an assessment of the usability of a product or service can be the subject of a research program. A failure to consult the potential users of developing technology may restrict its use in its society. So of course, when we make a research, our goal or objective is to make something better. And in order to do so, we must first know the reaction of the people that might potentially be affected by this research, thus conducting a survey. Let's say, for example, the developer of new technology should recognize and address the limitations of that technology by addressing these following questions. Is the technology limited to a particular age group, ethnic group, or a group with disabilities, mental and physical? Will the technology cause unintentional harm to users and the environment? Or is it possible that the technology can cause injury, disability, and even death in the very worst cases? These questions are concerning those people or the surroundings that might be affected by the said technology of the research. One method of reviewing these questions is to seek feedback from the potential users and the public at large. In many countries, anti-discrimination laws restrict the design and use of community infrastructures which is not inclusive of sections of the population with disabilities. There are also design challenges for devices that can cause potential harm, whether the device is used by the intended users or non-intended users who might have accidental exposure to the system. So just like what we can see from other malls and buildings, there are these so-called PWD ramps, or those people with wheelchairs who can use this ramp as their passage. So we have here our first example, example 6.1, which is about disability challenges. Is it possible to design doors that wheelchair users find convenient to use? How is it possible to implement a fire alarm system for someone who is profoundly deaf? Is the red, orange, and green color scheme used in traffic lights suitable for the 10% of the male population with red-green color blindness? Not only are creative designs required, the ability of these populations to use a new system must be reviewed through a survey. So as you can see on the left side, that is the PWD ramp. And on the image below, that is the traffic light that uses symbols instead of just colors. But before they did these changes, they first took a survey in order to know whether this can be efficient, effective, or useful to those people with disability. On our second example, example 6.2, this is about the dangerous goods challenges. Magnetic resonance imaging of the human body requires exposure to very intense static magnetic fields. This can have major detrimental effects on those with implanted heart pacemakers. Children's toys must not be coated with lead-based points. The toys must not have sharp edges or small parts that can be swallowed, etc. The sale of portable high-powered lasers is restricted to scientific and manufacturing organizations. Members of the general public are not allowed to carry such items because of this potential danger to society. The actions of mining can cause dust hazards, ground subsidence, and pollution of local streams. A survey might be used to establish this effectiveness of production and sale controls on these products and services. The result might be some restrictions on access and use. So with the help of a survey, they might be able to eliminate the possible negative outcomes of these dangerous goods to the people that might be using it. The only method of obtaining some of this information in a rational, controlled manner from a representative sample population is through the use of a well-constructed, scientifically based survey. There are two somewhat distinct engineering investigations that require feedback from user groups or the general population. So the first one is defining the characteristics of humans, and the second one is defining the opinions of humans. So when we say defining the characteristics of humans, this is about the physical, mechanical, chemical, genetic, and physiological parameters, including impairments. These are commonly described in terms of anthropometric, biomechanical, or biochemical measurements. And when we say defining the opinions of humans, it is what they think about objects, engineering plans, outcomes, and the usability of objects and systems. These are commonly described in terms of social, cultural, religious, and political aspects of human life. And this can also be described as a usability survey. So generally, the first of these requires measurements of the physical and chemical parameters. In many cases, these anthropometric data are independent of time, at least in short term, and so measurements can be made at any time. The exception is physiological measurements, just like respiration, blood chemistry, and etc. The physiological measurements, where recent past exercises and food intakes can significantly influence the results. So let's say, for example, the body shapes, which include the height and the weight, and motor control, which includes reaction time, physical coordination, and physical strength, which change with age. Studies have shown that the human body has changed with the generations, the result of improved nutrition, and also the excessive food intake in the case of obesity problems, and improved medical care. Also, increased longevity is leading to an aging population. Responses to the latter question, which is based on opinion, can be time-dependent and subject to influence from the media, immediate neighbors, and workmates. Memories of the recent past can affect survey results significantly. So as you can see in figure 6.1, this indicates the change in height or the stature as a function of age. The relative height is expressed as a percentage of maximum height during a lifetime. Height changes little between the ages of 18 and 50 years. All of this information was gathered through the help of a survey. And this is an example of one of the distinct engineering investigation, which is about defining the characteristics of a human. Another example which we have here is the example 6.3, which is about anthropological characteristics, which is also under the defining the characteristics of humans. Studies have demonstrated that the average size and weight of the population have increased significantly. The average height of the members of a men's basketball team is much larger than the average height of female gymnasts. Should these factors influence the size of an airline seat in planes to be released onto the market in the year 2025? So from the changes that we have observed, we might be able to think about the ideas on how we can adjust to it. The figure 6.2 on the left side shows the increase in height for USA flying personnel. As you can see, it is increasing. The lines, which you can see on the graph, have been used as a predictive estimate of the future trend in height of these cohorts. So in almost all cases, the product development is best undertaken using concurrent engineering principles. That is, the technological aspects of product research and development are undertaken simultaneously with the survey used to determine the utility and applicability of the product or service. Researchers must therefore be aware of the human limitations in using and operating the technology and the basic requirements and principles underlying survey research methods. This includes reporting methods and the educational level, history, and cultural aspects of the community. So as the technology slowly improves, the researchers should also make sure that the people will be able to adjust to these products that we will be making in the future. So what we have here are the requirements of what the most surveys would have. So the first one is, the population surveyed must be sufficiently large so that appropriate statistical analysis can be undertaken. So if we want higher efficiency, we must survey larger or bigger group of people. The next one is, the time allocated to complete the survey should be relatively short to ensure recent events do not impact on the survey outcomes. So yes, we take survey in a short time since we all know that the opinions of the people, their actions, their decisions are easily influenced by the media and all things that surrounds them. Next one is, the population must be sufficiently large to ensure that individual identities cannot be inferred from the statistical data presented. So it must be diversified, or the survey must be given to different groups of people in order for it to be not biased and from different point of views or perspective. So what we have here next is our fourth example, example 6.4, which is about public opinion. A survey of highway safety conducted after a major accident is likely to yield different outcomes compared to a survey conducted when there have been no major accidents for a long time. So as what I have mentioned earlier, the opinions of the public can easily be influenced by those happening in their surroundings. So the general population continues to change its collective view of nuclear power in the light of nuclear accidents and global warming. What is accepted as appropriate engineering technology and infrastructures in one community might not be acceptable in others, and for the reason that, on the other side, there might be a lot of negative effects that happen to them which they might not accept it, and on the other side, the positive effects outweighed the negative, which is possible for them to accept the said project. So to ensure technology is effectively and efficiently used, it is best to seek the opinions of the end users before spending money and resources developing and implementing new technologies. So this is why we take a survey first. We have here the additional requirements that most surveys have. The fourth one is, the population must be sufficiently diverse to ensure that the population groupings are not subject to adverse stereotyping. So I have also mentioned this earlier, that it must be from different groups of people in order to have different perspective from the survey that they have answered, and the result will not be biased. The next one is, participation is voluntary and there is no mandatory requirement that all questions or sections of the survey are completed. So we cannot force these people to answer all of our surveys even if we want to, since it is just voluntary. So the last one is, the survey results are presented to the population surveyed in an understandable form. So yes, we must disseminate the results of the survey in order for the people to know that we did not manipulate the data and they have seen these proper results. Example 6.5 is about product optimization. There is a compromise between the size of a mobile telephone and the need to provide a full character set keypad. The size of the soft keys on a keypad is of significant importance. If the keys are too small, then the majority of the population can't use them effectively. Telephones must be usable by members of the population with disabilities, including motor neuron control problems, limited vision, unusual color resolution, and etc. So the product that we are planning to release must be compatible or suitable to those desired audience in order to make sure that it must be effectively used by them. As an example, a level of human capacity, which is both physical and mental, might be required to ensure that the users of a particular product or service are capable of using it. It is clear that making product which is not usable by some sections of the population is discriminatory and can impact the uptake of the technology. In addition, the capabilities of each individual are subject to the effects of their mental state and fatigue level and may be influenced by drugs and medication. A decision must be made about the range of activities required to use a particular product or service, and this might be a design feature. So by the time we know what is appropriate for these people, that is when we will slowly adjust some of the changes for this compatibility. Example 6.6 is about levels of usability. The option of disabling a motor vehicle when the driver is incapacitated by trauma, drugs, or alcohol is a design feature in some vehicles. However, a mobile telephone should not have the same level of motor skills required. Thus, a person under the influence of drugs or the onset of medical condition should not drive a motor vehicle, but should be able to use the telephone to call for a taxi or ambulance. So this is about the emergency feature that all projects should have for the different kinds of people that might use it. So that would be all for the chapter 6.1. Thank you for listening and have a great day.